What's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Scares! That's right, we're back at it on our month-long journey throughout the nightmares. Now, remember I'm taking a look at 31 foreign horror films in chronological order. I've already taken a look at a good number of Juwon films throughout this month, but now it looks like we're back at square one, as the series has now been officially rebooted with Juwon, the beginning of the end. Let's get cracking. Juwon, the beginning of the end, tells the story of an elementary school teacher that goes to investigate why a young boy named Toshio has not been coming to class in the last 10 days. She goes to his house, but what she finds there is something truly terrifying. Something with a grudge. So like I said, this is a reboot of the series, starting with the story first introduced in Juwon, The Curse, but there's definitely elements of both things that we've seen in the Curse films and The Grudge. And you know what? It's not half bad, especially when you take a look at the cinematography of the film. This is easily the best looking Juwon film that I've seen all month. And honestly, it might even be the best looking movie out of everything that I've seen for this year's Interpreting the Scares. The cinematography is good. So production value is definitely up there for this film. The scares, likewise, they're pretty darn creepy. The actress playing Kayako in particular did a great job being all sorts of wackadoo. So even if a lot of the scares in this film do borrow from the original movies, some are original enough for me to really get into it anyway. However, I do have a feeling that true fans of the Juwon films may not love it, because it does have that remake vibe where things are bigger and badder for no real reason other than to be bigger and badder. One of the best examples out there that I can give is the remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street. It has that vibe too, where it's trying to do the same thing. You know, it borrows a lot of the same scares, but it looks better cinematically, and it removes the element of simplicity that works so well for the OGs. The beginning of the end is not simple, right? There's a weird paradox going on in the film regarding not one, but two versions of Toshio in the film that you kind of have to juggle. It doesn't really make a ton of sense. The more that I think about what it means, the more confused I get. The original films were not like that at all. The original films, this enraged guy killed his entire family and they become ghosts with a vengeance that seeps everywhere because of the grudge that they hold due to their betrayal. This kind of has that in there as well, but apparently there was a Toshio ghost before any of that happened. And where did that ghost come from? I'm not really that sure. Also, it does have that out of order editing that has worked really well for the series in the past, where, you know, certain segments are pretty darn confusing at first, but then they all kind of come together at the end and then it all makes sense. But because this film's foundation has like a paradox that's already confusing, the editing isn't as clear as it usually is. I think it wasn't really worried so much about the editing angle as it was worried about certain scares. And honestly, what the movie looked like. I mean, if you remember the Curse films, they were full screen and it felt like you were legitimately watching a VHS tape. But the simplicity there, the feeling of amateurism, I don't know, it just kind of made the films like that much more creepier for some reason. Looking as good and as clear and as clean as this film does just makes it feel more produced and fake, in my opinion. It's not a bad movie by any means, no. And I am somewhat glad that they did remake it, since they know it better than the US does for sure. Any Japanese Juwon film is going to naturally be better than any of those American Grudge films. But I digress. This is a film that has its moments, you know, it's creepy in parts, and it definitely has me interested and invested in what they do in the next film, since that's likely to be less of an actual remake and much more of its own thing. But until then, I did score Juwon, the beginning of the end, a B- letter grade, final overall score of 70%, 70 out of 100 possible stars. Splitting that 70% score into two parts, you will see from my technical unbiased rating that I didn't exactly love it at 62%. A majority of that score really just comes down to behind the scenes stuff. So like I said, cinematography is great, but a lot of the other stuff was neither good or bad, just cinematically monotonous, technically speaking. Like the acting, you know, it's fine. Like the story, that's not as simple as it could be, like the unoriginality. The list goes on, but my bias score was higher at at 78% because, I'm not gonna lie, I did have a good time with the movie. It is flawed, but it had some good ideas there, and some of those scares were somewhat effective. There's promise there. I just don't think that it met that promise as much as it has in the past, but there's still time. What about you guys though? Have you seen Juwon, The Beginning of the End? If so, leave your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit the like, subscribe button, and the bell to be notified when I come out with my next installment for interpreting the scares. And until then, peace out!